Here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
What's up, Supernatural superfans? I'm Chrissy Lenz.
And I'm Nate McWhorter.
And we're the host of
Gank That Drink,
a supernatural drinking game podcast.
It's the podcast where we make up drinking game rules for our favorite episode of our favorite show, Supernatural.
We recap the episode for you and let you know how all the rules played out.
Then we let you know the drinking game rules for the next episode, so you can play along.
Plus, members get every episode early and ad-free.
With some extra bonus content chit-chat at the end of each episode as a member exclusive.
So download Gank That Drink, a supernatural drinking game podcast wherever the finest podcasts are available.
And or become a member at truestory.fm/gankthatdrink.
And when you're out there in the world saving people and hunting things,
you know, the family business.
Keep the Gank That Drink motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and party on,
dudes.
Hey, movie lovers, I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson. We are the hosts of the Next Reel Film Podcast.
If you're passionate about films like we are, you'll love our show. Each week, we dive deep into a movie, discussing everything from the story and performances to the cinematography and score.
Not to mention budgets and awards. We have covered iconic series like Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather trilogy, examining themes of power, family, and the dark side of the American dream.
We've explored the works of groundbreaking directors like Catherine Bigelow, discussing her mastery of tension.
We've looked at heist films, great car chases, great years in film, couples on the run, and more.
Our discussions go beyond the surface, examining what makes each film tick. We believe that when the movie ends, the conversation begins.
And we'd love for you to join that conversation. Find the Next Reel Film Podcast on your favorite podcast app or at thenextreel.com.
The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Coming up on The Devil's Details, To Be or Not to Be. Evil. Paradise Lost, Book 4. Good morning, Star Lovelies, and welcome to another episode of The Devil's Details, a show where we dig up, decipher, dissect, and deconstruct the many forms of the devil. One of my names is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I sometimes go by Keenan Diaz.
And we're just two lost souls hitchhiking down the highway to hell. And just a reminder, today's episode was originally recorded as bonus content for our first podcast, The Exorcist Minute, so I think we should hand it over. Take it away, past Lester and Keenan. And today, we are covering Book 4 of John Milton's epic poem, Paradise Lost. You'll remember last time we took a break to see how things were going on up in heaven, and apparently God knows, has known, is knowing, that Satan would escape all along. But
yeah, he will have had known.
Yes. Already. Yeah. By the time you're listening to this. All right. But then you might be asking, you might be asking, Keenan, why doesn't God stop Satan?
Yeah, why doesn't God stop Satan?
Well, it's okay, because God is going to tell us why he doesn't stop Satan by introducing and solving the problem of evil. Remember that old chestnut, folks, the problem of evil? But actually, this isn't really God. It's a character created by Milton, and so it's actually Milton who's tackling the problem of evil, and spoiler alert, he can't solve it because he is not God.
Back to the drawing board, everybody.
Yep, keep it up, everybody. We're close. I can feel it. But yeah, meanwhile, Satan has traversed the realm of chaos, found Earth, and after a brief pause at the stairway to heaven, he lands on the firmament, and after a little wandering, he's like, whoa, here comes the sun. And so he goes there to the sun, and he's walking on sunshine. And soon he meets the angel Uriel, whom he deceives by doing the Cupid shuffle.
I don't know that one, but I'm sure that's very funny.
It's a song.
I imagine that is hysterical for people.
Got to be inelegant, but these are all song titles. After which Uriel shows him the way to Eden, and our book ended with Satan landing on Mount Nephades.
Mm-hmm. No song there?
No song. No.
There's that Mr. Roboto song, I think I'm turning Nephades. I think I'm turning Nephades. I think really think
What?
so.
I was thinking old style, like God Tell It on the Mountain, but
like God Tell It on the Mountain.
Yeah. But no, don't tell God. I that's what I don't want. But as always, before we dive in, folks, let us first read Milton's argument at the top of Book 4. Here we go. Satan, now in prospect of Eden, and nigh the place where he must now attempt the bold enterprise which he undertook alone against God and man, falls into many doubts with himself, and many passions, fear, envy, and despair, but at length confirms himself in evil, journeys on to paradise, whose outward prospect and situation is described, overleaps the bounds, sits in the shape of a cormorant on the tree of life, as highest in the garden, to look about him. The garden described, Satan's first sight of Adam and Eve, his wonder at their excellent form and happy state, but, with resolution to work their fall, overhears their discourse, thence gathers that the tree of knowledge was forbidden them to eat, under penalty of death, and thereon intends to found his temptation, by seducing them to transgress. Then leaves them a while, to know further of their state by some other means. Meanwhile, Uriel, descending on a sunbeam, warns Gabriel, who had in charge the gate of paradise, that some evil spirit had escaped the deep and passed at noon by his sphere in the shape of a whittled baby cherub.
No. As a good angel, right?
As a good angel, right. Down to paradise, discovered after by his furious gestures in the mount. Gabriel promises to find him ere morning. Night coming on, Adam and Eve discourse of going to their rest, their bower described, their evening worship. Gabriel, drawing forth his bands of night, watch to walk the rounds of paradise, appoints 2 strong angels to Adam's bower, lest the evil spirit be there doing some harm to Adam, or Eve sleeping. There they find him at the ear of Eve, tempting her in a dream, and bring him, though unwilling, to Gabriel, by whom questioned, he scornfully answers, prepares resistance, but, hindered by a sign from heaven, flies out of paradise.
So they got him.
It's done.
Sorry, right? They
It's
caught
book
him
4.
in the act, right?
Yeah.
And they said, get out of here.
Yeah, his old Satan.
So we got 8 more books, huh?
Yeah. He
right.
stomps his foot and he walks off. Hey, no, we'll get to that. Yeah, they don't bring him back to hell.
Right.
They threaten to, but they don't.
Right.
They're like, you get back to hell yourself. I trust you.
Why don't you go to hell? Hey, you go to hell.
Yeah. No, we'll get to that, folks. Right. These angels are so damn trusting. And I'm not like we're gonna talk about them, and it's gonna sound like they're dumb. They're not dumb. Right. They're just really, really good.
Oh,
right?
That's very nice of you.
Yeah. So that's what's coming up. We got Satan soliloquizing. We got our first glimpse of Adam and Eve through the eyes of Satan, and we get a little standoff between Satan and Gabriel. So let's jump in. Okay, so right off the bat, Keenan, you had mentioned before that Milton was writing this as a stage play around the same time as he was trying to write an epic poem about King Arthur, and he scrapped the Arthur story and decided to make this the epic poem instead.
Right.
Yeah. And even if I hadn't known that, I gotta say, like, more than any book so far in this poem, book 4 feels like it wants to be a stage play. Or maybe like it was a stage play at some point. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, because it is a lot of, the soliloquy, I think, helps with that.
Right. Yeah.
And then like the soliloquy is interrupted by the angels coming in, or Adam and Eve, like from the side. It's like, oh, hark, what do I hear?
Yeah, right.
There it is. And he's describing what we're seeing and kind of, I don't know, not superfluous. If it were, I guess I'm just saying that superfluous nature, yeah. Right? Like we're being told what we're seeing, but then he's also describing it aloud as Satan. Yeah.
Seems like everybody is doing that in this book, right? Like we got some. I mean, like when we get to Adam and Eve, like you guys will know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But no, like this feels like we're in the audience and like we're in front of like one of those bigger stages that have like little sections, like set for like each scene. So it's like the lights go up here and we're with Adam and Eve, and then they go down, and then the lights go up here and with Gabriel and the angels, and then we go down, and then spotlight on the center stage.
And then, the tree is always in the middle, and it's always lit up no matter where you're going. Right?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So that's what it feels like. It feels like this like kind of like multi-stage production that's going on. Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, there are so many theatrical elements in this single book. Like, I mean, for Christ's sake, we got to be or not to be, like right at the top, right? Or it's like to be or not to be evil, I guess. And there's even, like, I swear to God, like a bit of British panto a little bit later.
And
I will explain like what that is when we get there. But yeah, like even the way we shift between scenes, like I was saying, like it's almost like Milton made it so that the cast and crew had time to like set up before the next spectacle, right? It's like, okay, we're going to go to Adam and Eve over here while they prep the gates of paradise or something, right?
Right.
Yeah. So let's look at this thing, and you guys tell me if I'm off my rocker here. But yeah, so we open with another bit of narration. We got Milton talking as he usually does at the top, but the difference here is that he is talking to us. Right? He's not invoking the Holy Spirit or singing praises to light like he did in the third book. He is setting the scene literally. He is telling us as Satan walks on stage what Satan is feeling. We got the spotlight on Satan, and Milton's like, little did they all know that Satan brought hell with him and could no more fly from it than he could fly from himself. Right? You get the music's starting to build. Right? Full of doubt and despair, he turns his gaze to Eden, then to heaven, and finally to the sun. There's a hush over the crowd, right? And because Satan is about to do his big number, right? And yeah, that's what this next bit is, folks. Like, yes, it's a chunk of blank verse in a poem, but actually this is Satan's song of woe, right? Like in a regular play, it's, like I said, to be or not to be, right? In a musical, this is I Dreamed a Dream from Les Mis,
I dreamed
right?
a dream of days gone by.
Right? It's Memory from Cats, right?
Memories all alone in the moonlight.
I didn't know you were going to do all of this. But actually, you know what this is? It is Gethsemane, or I Only Want to Say, from JC Superstar.
I don't know that one. You got to do it for us.
No. It's really epic. It's like, but if I die, see the saga through and do the things you ask of me. Let them hate me, hit me, hurt me, nail me to their tree.
Yeah, thanks. I got my lighter up in the air for you here. That's great.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Ironically, like it's reminding me of that. We got the devil singing, right?
Right.
And for both of those songs, like the vibe is like, I don't know if I'm strong enough to do the next thing, right? And by the end, the character is resolved to do it, right? The difference is like Jesus is having doubts about whether he can do God's will and be a sacrifice in Gethsemane, right? And in Gethsemane, he's talking to God, right? Satan is talking to himself right here. And that is 90% of his lines from here on out, right? Once he's out of hell, it's all soliloquies, right? And compare that to all the other characters have someone to talk to, right? Even God in the last book had the Son to talk to and answer him back. Satan is stuck in this feedback loop for most of the poem. I almost said play because that's how this feels. It's a stage play, but yeah. So let's break this thing down.
So you're saying like, we could have given Beelzebub to Satan to be his little Iago, right, the whole time. Yeah, but he doesn't. We leave him behind. So like that seems to be of Satan's own. It's not like Milton wasn't like that's a possibility.
Right.
Instead, he's like, well, no, Satan has isolated himself even from his. I don't know if they're friends, right? But we could have made him a friend with Beelzebub in this version,
yeah. So it's and it could have even been like maybe not even an Iago thing, maybe like a brothers in arms kind of searching for this lost continent, and they find themselves on the way, or each other. I don't know.
We find each other on the way.
Yeah.
All right, you can do whatever you want with your Bible fan fiction lesson.
And Satan's like, it's like I wish I could quit you, but.
Yeah. Right, but you're literally the only one here.
Yeah, so. I can no more. I bring you with me. I can no more fly from you than I can fly from myself.
Oh, it's still my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, yeah, Milton decides to have Satan be by himself, right? And I think that is crucial to the character of Milton's Satan. So yeah, let's take a look at his monologue here. So he opens by speaking directly to the sun, comparing it to the God of this world and cursing its light, for it reminds him of the place from which he fell, both heaven and his former luminous state. And the next bit surprised me. He says, till pride and worse ambition threw me down, warring in heaven against heaven's matchless king. Ah, wherefore he deserved no such return from me, whom he created, what I was in that bright eminence, and with his good upbraided none. Nor was his service hard. What could be less than to afford him praise, the easiest recompense, and pay him thanks? How do? Yet all his good proved ill in me, and wrought but malice lifted up so high. I completely forgot that this was in here. Like I knew this was like the monologue where he almost, turns back.
Mhm.
But I thought it was a bit more selfish, a little bit more delusional. Like it still is. Like he hasn't finished, but like I was surprised to hear him finally, like, fully admitting that he was in the wrong.
Mhm.
Like he admits it was pride and ambition that threw him down. He admits that God doesn't deserve his enmity, that God was the one who made him so bright and beautiful, that God was never a tyrant and, with his good upbraided none. And lastly, how all God asked in return was thanks, and how ridiculously easy that would have been to give him.
Mhm.
And then there's that last line, like, yet all his good proved ill in me.
Right.
And I think this can go both ways. I think the first, like this could be the first turning point in this monologue. We could read this as Satan saying, all his goodness didn't work on me. Or this could be the point where he starts slowly shifting the blame to God, right? He says, all his goodness is what made me this way.
That is how I read it. Yes.
Mm.
That he cannot stand, maybe it's self-hatred or something, but he cannot stand somebody loving him that much.
Right. Yeah. And then he thinks, if only God had created me as some lower angel, I would have been happy. Like I wouldn't have dreamed of challenging him, right? And I know that Milton is trying to make this like a serious part. Like he's wishing that he was, like less magnificent up in heaven, because then he wouldn't be tempted to rebel against God. But it just like it's like, oh, if only he didn't make me so awesome. If only he didn't give me these sick abs.
Yeah, these 10 abs. If only I had 8 abs, like a normal person.
Right. And these resplendent wings and this great hair. Oh, God. Such a curse. I'm cursed with this beauty. And these smarts and this beautiful voice. Yeah. But then he thinks, no, because someone else would just come along and rebel against God, and I would probably join them. And then he says, no, my rank didn't matter, because others of my rank did not fall and were not even tempted, which also surprised me, because I thought he was like the best of the best. And here he's comparing himself to angels of equal rank.
Yeah, but I think if he's like the top, you could still, I think it's all stratified, right? So you're like the top of the nobility. There's still a power structure within your class and your rank.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so, and then he's like, didn't I have the same free will, the same freedom of choice that they all had? Then who can I blame but myself?
Mm-hmm.
No. I should blame God for loving me and trusting me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I will curse his love. But then again, immediately he's like, no, I curse myself. It was my decision. So he's going back and forth like on this.
Yeah, I love the idea of the ranks and the nobility, and again thinking about Milton as someone who was advocating for the overthrow of the monarchy, and then they did that. But that wasn't like a bottom up overthrow. That was from the nobility again. So it was very similar to this idea, like I don't know. Maybe we'll get to something where Milton praises lowly peasants, etc. But I don't think that's going to happen. I imagine so, since he was not a peasant. They tend to think highly of peasants. But like the only people who can make decisions that really have ramifications in this time period are like nobles from their point of view.
Right. Yeah. And this book wasn't written for peasants to read.
Right. And that's another argument, right? That like to a lot of the peasants, it doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter who the king is, because their life stays exactly the same.
Yeah, right. Nothing really changes.
Right.
But yeah, so Satan is going back and forth on this, like who to blame, who's really the cause of all of this anguish that he's feeling. And then he goes on to the next part, wondering where to go from here. Like literally and figuratively, where do I go from here?
Mm-hmm.
He says wherever he goes. And I've repeated this already, so it's kind of like we've already kind of like killed the hype of this line. But this is where he says wherever he goes to hell, because he is hell. He brings hell with him.
Mm-hmm.
But if he chooses to continue hating God, then a deeper hell might open up and consume him. And I think he's talking about like his own. He's not talking about like literally God's going to open up a deeper hell. I think he's talking about like being sucked into his own self even more.
I think that is what I think he is saying that, like myself am hell, and that,
yeah.
But it's so tricky, right? Because we're dealing with infinite, so I still can't, picture these things. So the hell as we have it is infinitely sad and strange and dark, and infinitely away from God. But then raising the possibility of an even bigger infinite, which math says is possible and science says is possible, right? So yeah, I just can't imagine what that would be.
Yeah. As soon as they get out of the lake in book 1, you're like, oh, like like things can be a little bit better.
Yeah, but can they get worse? Can they be even more?
I mean, that's what Belial argues. He's
Right.
like, we can be chained at the bottom of the lake, right?
Yeah. Oh, but hell, worse hell for me would be without my beloved Beelzebub.
Ah, there you go, right? And he says that like just within earshot of Beelzebub.
Well, no, exactly.
Yeah. Right. And he's like, aw.
I don't know how to quit him. I said, I don't know how to quit him.
What was that, boss? Oh, Mammon, get out of here. Can't have a moment's peace in this. There's no privacy. There's
no privacy in this hell.
Yeah. It doesn't have any walls.
Yeah, these walls are half an inch thick.
Yeah. Lord Satan, you despaired of the fact that there were no bananas in hell previously. But I can't.
You have to finish that.
No, they're going to finish it. They're going to just go off and finish that. What's your favorite piece of Paradise Lost discussion or discourse? Well, there's this podcast called The Exorcist Minute, who aren't talking about the movie, but instead talking about Beelzebub and Satan having sex.
Oh, but Beelzebub and Satan are the same person, aren't they? Oh, no. They'll explain it all to you.
Yeah. Come with me. We've got lots to cover. Episode 1. But yeah, so he's talking about like wherever he goes, he brings hell with him, right? And he's worrying that he can possibly, like, he might possibly fall deeper into his own feelings of despair if he continues hating God.
Right.
And he actually wonders if forgiveness is still possible.
Mm-hmm.
But then he thinks only if he submits, which he cannot do. How would he face all the other fallen angels back in hell after all that bragging and boasting? And he's like, oh, they don't know how hard it is being me. And he reasons, like, besides, even if I was forgiven and even if I was raised all the way back up to my former state, I know me. Like, I would just want to do it all again.
Right.
And I'd probably get a worse punishment the second time. And hey, God knows I would do it again, so he's probably not going to forgive me. And you know what? If he's not willing to forgive me, I'm not willing to ask forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
He made a little bit of a leap there.
Yeah.
Again, folks, feedback loop, right? And so this monologue ends with him saying, so farewell hope, and with hope farewell fear. Farewell remorse. All good to me is lost. Evil be thou my good. Again, one of those memorable lines from this poem. And so, yeah, after this monologue, Milton tells us that as Satan was speaking and wrestling with all these emotions, it was affecting him physically. And so here's where I thought, oh, sweet. This is where, like, he gets horns and he starts to look more monstrous. Like, what a cool visual, like, as this monologue is playing out. Mm-hmm. And by the end of it, he is the devil, right? But no. Milton is saying that as he's speaking, he's getting so worked up that his disguise is falling away. And I'm like, wait, disguise? Like, what disguise? And then I realize, Keenan, this whole monologue, this amazing to be or not to be monologue is being recited by a little baby cherub.
Oh, okay. All right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
He hadn't changed back yet.
I thought he would do that as soon as he was alone, right?
That's what I thought too. It's like, I can get out of this thing.
Yeah.
Because he's all about, he's all about image, right? And folks, I completely misremember this, partly because there is this beautiful picture, again by Doré, where Satan is like leaning on a rock and he's got like a hand to his head and this look of like aesthetically pleasing anguish on his face. And you think, oh, this is the monologue. He's looking up at the sky and he's like, woe is me. But no, at least at the beginning of this monologue, he is a little baby cherub.
Yeah, that's him taking off his cherub makeup, probably. He's stripping it off. Yeah. So do you want to go back and reread that monologue, but with your Oz a little cuter?
Well, yeah.
Everywhere I go, I have hell with me, or whatever it is.
Hell with me. Hell's so big and I'm so small. And I know that if God just forgave me, I would just do it again because I'm a bad little boy. But Keenan, I think we forgot to mention this to our listeners. The reason that Satan is using that voice when he's deceiving Uriel is because he has never actually met the cherubs in heaven. He's too high and mighty. He's not going to deign to go down to their their region of heaven, right? And but folks, we all know that cherubs actually sound like New York cabbies.
Right. They say, "Get out of my way. What you doing out here? I'm walking here. Hey, forget about it."
Right. Cigars haven't been invented, but
they're still holding their chubby fingers as if they have their stogie.
Right. It's like, what is it, Baby Herman in the...
In Roger Rabbit, yeah. Quit busting my balls.
Yeah. Saying, now I gotta, pick up this this cutesy bow and arrow and don't make two people fall in love. It's hell on my back. All right. Yeah. Okay, yeah, but anyway, so while Satan is doing this monologue, he's getting so riled up, he's getting so worked up that his like costume falls off, his disguise, and of the cherub falls off. And also, just to add to the comedy here, remember why he changed his shape? Remember Uriel, the angel in the sun, whom he was trying to deceive? Turns out he's watching all of this. Literally, it's like one of those comedy cuts where we got a close up of Satan, so it looks like he's by himself, and that's when he delivers this epic monologue. Then hard cut to Uriel in the sun looking down on earth. And that's when the music also cuts and Satan's voice sounds less epic and it's far away. And you just hear... and Uriel's like, well, shit.
And you don't get Satan because he doesn't have any friends here. He doesn't go, he's right behind me, isn't he?
Yeah, right. That's a panto. Yeah.
Yeah. If you had Beelzebub with you, buddy.
You could do that bit, right? Yeah. So Satan moves on and eventually comes to the border of Eden, which is enclosed by a wall or a wall of trees. In any case, Milton describes the trees, how tall they are, and he points out that these trees also have fruit on them and how colorful and how beautiful it all is. And Satan also notices how pure the air is the closer he gets, but he also gets closer and sees that the foliage is either too thick or that the wall has no entrance except on the complete opposite side of where he is in the east. But that's probably guarded. So he leaps over the wall in a single bound and lands on his feet on the other side. Milton was very focused on Satan being able to jump the wall. And I'm like, he has wings, John.
So I guess we're supposed to be up on our Bible when we read this anyways. Right?
Okay.
Right. So this is all like a little dramatic irony, right? So like he's in the tree in Eden and there's fruit in it. And we're going to assume, I'm guessing that this is the tree and the fruit.
When he later gets to the tree, yes.
This is not the tree?
No.
See, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like if we see Satan landing on a tree with fruit in it, I'm assuming it's the tree, but you're saying it's not the tree yet.
Yeah, no, he hasn't even landed in a tree. Like he has jumped the wall and landed on the ground on the other side of the wall.
No, but where it says here...
No, he gets to a tree.
And higher than that wall, a circling row of goodliest trees loaded with fairest fruit. Mm-hmm. Is that the tree?
No. Like that's a bunch of trees, but I don't think...
Oh, okay.
Those aren't
the tree yet.
Right, yeah.
All right, I'm trying, Lester. I'm trying.
No, it's okay. Yeah. No, it doesn't help that in the most famous story about trees with fruit in them, Milton has more trees with fruit in them that don't matter.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm trying to use the rest of my Bible knowledge so that so he's on the west side of Eden, I suppose, because the very far side is the east side.
He's not east of Eden, right?
He's not east of Eden yet, but that's where...
By John Steinbeck.
Right. That is where... That's where they'll have to leave from. Is the east of Eden,
right? East of Eden is and that is where the gate is.
Yes, that's where the gate is.
Where they're probably guarding. We don't know.
All right, Did I do it? Did I do something?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so Satan is in Eden. He has jumped the wall. He is in, and so now Milton compares him to a prowling wolf circling a shepherd's flock. This is the second animal comparison, right? Remember, first one was a vulture, right? Now we got a wolf, and so far both of them are figurative. Right? Mm-hmm. I almost got confused which one was which.
Literal or figurative?
Yeah, right. But almost immediately after, he spies the tree of life.
All right, here we go.
No, actually, no.
Oh.
No. You were so happy, but no. It is the highest tree in the middle of the garden. So he flies up to the top of it. And this is where Milton says he sat like a cormorant, which it sounds like it's figurative, but all of the depictions and the interpretations I have seen have Satan physically changing into a cormorant, which I did not know what that was.
Well, I had to look that up, yeah.
Yeah, I looked it up, and apparently it's some sort of water bird
right.
that eats fish. And I was like, Milton, pick a crow, pick a raven. You had a vulture, or like go the whole other way and pick like a dove, right? A water bird? Like, am I missing something about cormorants that makes this like a better choice?
I don't know. I mean, it's the first time I've heard of a cormorant, and I'm not sure. Yeah, what kind of special meaning they had to Englishmen of the 1700s.
It's like Milton is like, so he leapt the bounds of Eden, and he's stalking like a wolf, and then he flies to the top of the tree, and you just hear like it's a duck or something.
Well, I wonder if it's like, if we had like you visited by an owl and the owl told you a lesson, we'd be like, oh, that's because owls are wise, right?
Yeah, right.
But if you don't have that information, then it's just like, oh, this guy likes owls, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it has some kind of meaning.
Or maybe at a very, very young age, Milton was like attacked by a cormorant.
All right, I have found something.
Okay.
It's a Wikipedia, so you have to do your own research for this.
Okay.
Cormorants feature in heraldry and medieval ornamentation, usually in their wing-drawing pose, so they stick their wings out, which was seen as representing the Christian cross and symbolizing nobility and sacrifice.
Oh. Okay, I take it back, Milton. This is a good one.
Yeah. He read his Wikipedia.
Yeah, we're just too far along. We're just too far away from the times, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, I did look up some stuff about cormorants as well. Apparently, people are saying it's very sneaky in the way that it hunts, right? So that's also appropriate. Also, in various cultures and literature, the cormorant is often seen as a symbol of greed and gluttony. Interesting. They also say him choosing a bird is a contrast to how the Holy Spirit is depicted as a dove, right? But still, Milton, use a raven. They're both in the Ark story.
Yeah, I don't.
You got the dove and you got the raven.
I don't think cormorant is opposite of dove. I think raven is opposite of dove. I'm with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Like yeah, the cormorant and the cross thing. Like, thank you for finding that, Keenan, because I didn't see that.
Like, the opposite of hare is not turtle.
Exactly.
It's tortoise. If you go put a turtle in there, then no. What are you doing?
Yeah. Right. Anyway, but yeah. So. From here atop the tree of life.
Wait, so he is in the tree now?
No.
What? He's not in the tree? You're saying he is in the tree?
This confused me as well. So, Keenan.
Are you fucking with me?
How many days old were you? And I will tell you my answer.
Okay.
When you realize that there are two trees. There is a tree of life and a tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Wait a second. I know there's a tree of life. But I don't associate that with being in the Garden of Eden.
No, I have heard. I'm remembering back, in my childhood, being confused by this very thing. There is a tree of life, and then there is also the no tree.
I thought
God doesn't call it that, but
I know the tree of life from like the Norse tree of life.
Oh, Yggdrasil. Yeah, that's
look at you.
Yeah,
Yggdrasil,
I was like Yggdrasil. Yes.
Idris Elba. Okay. Yeah. I never knew how to put it. It's YGG something.
Yeah. Basically all my people's my ancestors' words sound like you say them with a mouthful of mutton and mead. Yggdrasil.
Like you're afraid of somebody stealing the meat from out your mouth.
Exactly, right?
Okay, so
we're not talkers, we're pillagers.
So there is another tree of life in the Garden of Eden.
There's only one. There is only one tree of life in the Garden of Eden.
I didn't know there was any tree of life in the Garden of Eden. That's where I'm getting confused.
Milton is saying, you know what? Hang on. What is the difference between the tree of life and the tree... Tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil are two different trees mentioned in the biblical book of Genesis, specifically in the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Okay. They hold distinct symbolic meanings and roles in the narrative.
Okay. I did not realize that.
Yeah. So let's look at the tree of life. So tree of life, symbolism. The tree of life primarily symbolizes immortality and the perpetuation of life. Eating from this tree was thought to grant eternal life. What? ChatGPT, are you fucking with me?
No, I don't think anyone's fucking with anybody. That's
okay,
what it says
okay.
here.
He separates it. ChatGPT separates it. Okay. Specifically, the role of Genesis. It says it is here we go. It is less prominent in the Genesis narrative compared to the tree of knowledge. After Adam and Eve eat from the tree of knowledge, God banishes them. Yeah, we know. To prevent them from eating from the tree of life and living forever. What? What?
I search the tree. Where's the tree of life in Genesis? It takes me to Genesis 3:22. I go to Genesis 3:22, and in all of the English versions, King James or anything, it says that it's the tree of knowing good and evil.
So, ChatGPT is telling you.
No, not ChatGPT. Okay. ChatGPT is lying to you. It's hallucinating.
He's a liar. ChatGPT is a liar. Lester, he will sometimes mix lies with the truth to attack us.
I have the tree of life.
Biblical references. It's mentioned again in the book of Revelation, tree of life, as part of the new paradise symbolizing eternal life with God.
Okay. The tree of life.
Bottom line, I think the differentiation between the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil existed before Milton is doing this thing.
Okay, well, it confuses me.
Yeah.
So he's winning. So good job, Milton.
Hang on, let me check with Google. Here we go. This is the Gospel Coalition. All right. So some exegetical notes, observations, and tentative conclusions. Among all the trees in the Garden of Eden, God identified two special trees, of life and of the knowledge of good and evil. And out of the ground the Lord God made to spring up every tree that is pleasant to the sight of good for food. The tree of life was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God allowed Adam to eat from all the trees except the tree of knowledge of good and evil, warning him that death would result. And what about the tree of life? That's where they stop talking about the tree of life. Lord God commanded the man, saying, You may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. After being tempted, the tree of knowledge, good and evil, right? After eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, by part of knowledge, regarding there's no more tree of life. I do not see any more tree of life
in Genesis.
Yeah, in Genesis,
right.
At least.
It's in Revelation, etc.
So it's just dropped in Genesis. It's like as this big thing. It's like and God made all the trees and they all sprouted up, and he made the two most important trees.
Right.
The tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. Anyway, so about the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah, they both sound pretty important.
Yeah.
According to the Greek Orthodox Apocalypse of Moses, the tree of life is also called the tree of mercy. Does that help you at all?
No. No, that doesn't. Except maybe like I'm crying mercy. Like I don't want to keep looking. Like I feel so stupid. Folks, if you know the answer to this riddle.
It's not supposed to be a riddle.
It's not supposed to be a riddle. But it's a riddle for us because like we're just too stupid to understand what this tree of life is all about. And we were both raised Catholic. So I don't know how this got past us.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I think there are two trees, and then some people read them as one tree, and that's of debate.
All right. Yeah. This is even like more confusing than the Satan Beelzebub thing, right? Yeah.
But according to Milton, they are two trees.
They are two different trees, right?
All right. Yeah. So he's not in so I need to stop saying the tree
right.
for a little while longer at least. So he is in a tree, which is the tree of life. Yeah,
which is the tree of life. It's like the other most important tree.
And he's not gotten to the other tree, the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Right. And he doesn't even know that one exists yet.
All right. Well, I keep thinking he just as I read it, it felt like he got to this tree a couple different times. So that makes sense now.
Yeah, right. And if we were cleaning this up, it would just be that tree, And then he's like, wait a minute. You mean like he's listening to Adam and Eve, down there. He's like, wait. This tree? How convenient for me. Yeah. But no. Okay.
Well, I also thought the tallest tree in the middle of the garden would be the important tree for the story, but that's not the case.
Well, no, Keenan, because then it would be hard to get the apples.
It should be hard to get the apples. Wait, who's fucking with who? What's happening? All right, but he's landed in the tree that's in the middle. It's the tallest tree, and it's the tree of life.
It is the tree of life. Right?
Oh, right.
Yes. And he can see all of Eden, and Milton describes it here for us as the most beautiful garden imaginable. And here is where I want to cite Professor John Rogers of Yale Courses on YouTube, who says Milton is tasked with showing us a world that is unfallen, which is hard because a fallen world is all we have ever known, right? Mm-hmm. Any depiction of Eden falls short, right? Same as how, we said any description or characterization of God falls short, right? Rogers says that Milton is giving us a fallen representation of an unfallen state, right? And because neither Milton nor we know what that is, Milton spends a big chunk of description explaining what Eden is not, with many cultural and literal references that we do not need to get into, right? It is not the famous Garden of X or the lush Garden of Y, right? It's Eden, right? We get it. It's indescribable, right? Yeah, I actually messaged Keenan, and before earlier in the week, and I said we're gonna skip a lot of this Eden stuff. Turns out Eden is beautiful,
right?
Who knew?
Indescribably, but yeah. That's us Americans. Like Lovecraft is the American. He's like, you just can't describe it. Okay, great.
No. But Rogers points out a couple other things. A little further down in this description, Milton describes the rivers in Eden as rolling with mazy error. Error, that's E-R-R-O-R, right? And he notes that's a really weird word to have in your description of paradise, right? Is this more proof that fallen language cannot adequately describe Eden, or is it that error, which is basically the theme of this whole poem, right, has already infected Eden, right? Even down to Milton's choice of words, even before the fall, error was in the garden. Remember, we don't get a description of Eden until after Satan has already entered. We follow him in. So actually, we never get to see a 100% unpolluted Eden. So it could be that human error keeps Milton from properly describing Eden, or it could be that sin has already infected Milton's description of it because Satan is here. Or Rogers poses one more option. He says maybe what Milton is suggesting with this word that doesn't seem to fit in a description of paradise is that the word error existed before the fall, and it was a good thing, as are all things in Eden, and only after the fall is error associated with something bad, right? So here it's describing a river. It feels like it's saying like erratic and playful, right? Like twisty-turny river full of mazy errors, right? So it could be that Milton is playing a little game here. Rather than trying to avoid using ugly words, because if we do that, we would just not be able to use any word, right? Because all of them fall short of a description of Eden, right? So rather than do that, he leans into it with words like error and says, we are so far gone, we can no longer imagine a world where the word error is as good and clean as everything else.
I like that interpretation. That makes the most sense to me, that we just can't put it into words. But I love the idea that that Satan's presence in Eden makes it imperfect. And so he would never, even though he looks at it and is like, wow, this is crazy, what God is able to create here. But he has never seen it as perfect as it could have been before he even had the idea of going there to disrupt it. Yeah.
And I love the kind of like meta idea that like Milton's he's trying to write it and he can't even describe like words like error are like slipping in. It's like Satan is glitching the his writing almost. But yeah, like we said, there's a ton of description of Eden. Turns out Eden is beautiful. Who knew? Satan's not here for that. We're not here for that. And pretty soon, Satan spies, quote, two of far nobler shape, erect and tall, godlike, erect, with he uses erect twice.
That's not you. That's not you just corrupting
in
it.
the span of 3 words. with native honor clad in naked majesty seemed lords of all, right? That's how it finishes, right? Okay, so before we meet Adam and Eve proper, let's address the elephant in the room, the erect elephant in the room. Milton is famously sexist in his description of Adam and Eve, but then also weirdly inconsistent because he'll go out of his way to say how equal they are sometimes, right? So he's what's the word? He's flip-flopping all over the place here. And some scholars, specifically Rogers of Yale courses, says that could be due to the fact that Milton is kind of like, we're seeing shades of the young Milton, who's like very egalitarian and very, Republican in the sense, not of like, the American political party, but like of the anti-royalty, like everybody's equal, right?
Right. Republican, how we would say democratic today. So
exactly.
Figuratively, literally, but not
like the exact opposite.
Not monarchical, but having to do with representational government. Yeah.
Right. So in his younger days, he was all, all about equality. And you can see a little bit of that in his description of Adam and Eve sometimes. And as he gets older, Rogers says that he still remained, anti-monarch, but he also kind of like developed this idea about like class. And hierarchies within like society. So we can see also that. We can see those two Miltons kind of like battling out as we are talking about Adam and Eve.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. That I'm, of no use. So, because I just read finished products and I don't track like what's written by an older person or like, when did they start writing this? So that's fascinating.
Yeah. But so let's look at that line again, right? Two of far nobler shape, erect and tall, lords of all, right? That's how he starts. That's the first description of Adam and Eve. And they are both godlike, both lords of all they survey, right? He points out that both of them look like God. Both of them are representations of God. But then almost immediately, you go further down, it says, though both not equal, as their sex not equal seemed, right? And Rogers is like, okay, seemed to who, right? Like who is making this assumption, right? Like it could be that Milton just can't help but be a little bit sexist here immediately after saying that they were equal. And probably that's what this is. But Rogers points out that we can read it another way because remember, guys, we're only getting this description of Adam and Eve because Satan is watching them. Like Eden, we don't see them before he does. We are currently observing them through his eyes. These are his thoughts. So it's possible that Satan is misinterpreting them. And he's thinking that one seems inferior to the other, right? And this idea was actually introduced in the 80s. All these Miltonians, they rejoiced that they could blame it all on Satan, right? They could say that patriarchy is not Miltonic, it's Satanic. Do I think that's what Milton is doing? No. But he's dead, and we can interpret this any way we want.
That's what I say. I think that's hard sometimes for people because you want to venerate the person who writes this great poetry, and then you want to explain away the things you disagree with them on, right?
Right.
He is. Even if you say, hey, I'm a feminist, it's possible for you to not be as feminist as somebody else. That's possible.
Exactly.
And like, that's fine. It's great. So even if he was ahead of his time, doesn't mean that he's ahead of our time or that, that he's more feminist than us. And these things change all the time.
Yeah. He's got, like if he is, like if he's consciously trying to do that, he's got a long way to go.
Yeah, well, just 300 years to go. I mean, it's fine. Yeah. we don't have to be like, oh, he's what a terrible guy. He's not as feminist as we would be in 300 years later. But
we got a long way to go. We still
sure, exactly.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we could read that line, though both not equal, as their sex not equal seemed, as Milton's own observation or Satan's. Right. Either way. As Rogers says, it's still a fallen understanding of unfallen beings, right? And I do like that because Satan, more than any other character, is obsessed with hierarchies and one's proper place in the hierarchy and like the injustice or the unfairness of being lower than you should be or higher than you should be. The boys on Classical Stuff You Should Know point out, they say, look at the rigid hierarchy in hell versus how nature is laid out by God, right? Satan needs everyone and everything to have a rank. Right. And so he looks at Adam and Eve, and of course, the first thing he's going to wonder is which one is stronger, which one is higher.
Right.
And he thinks that God thinks this way too. Take note, whenever Satan talks about God, whether to himself or others, he's always talking about God's strength, God's power, right? He thinks God is God because he's the strongest and only that. So Milton continues to describe Adam and Eve at length.
At length, these erect people.
Yes, he
Try to
describes
describe these erect people at length.
these two standing proud and tall and erect at length. And he says it's not about the no. But no,
that's
like,
all I can contribute in this episode, Lester. I'm getting the trees wrong. All I can do is add 13-year-old jokes. So,
yeah. No. But no, like I think you're on the money, Kenny, because like the stuff that Milton chooses to highlight in his description of Adam and Eve, like how Eve seemed the softer of the two, or how Eve's hair length quote implied subjection, right? Like I'd rather imagine that's just Satan trying to make heads or tails of this new creature that he's never seen, right? So he watches as they make their way to a shady tree where they sit and they share a meal of fruit. And it's regular fruit. There are regular trees and regular fruit.
Well, thank goodness.
Just every time I'm reading this poem, it says fruit, and I'm like,
well, that's exactly what I did. I misunderstood.
Right?
But yeah, I mean, it's paradise and it's perfect. So maybe every tree has some special goddamn thing going on with it. I mean, this is the tree of purity of heart. Yeah. This is the tree of always striving to be better than the previous day.
Yeah, this eating from this tree will make you tall and erect.
And this is the tree that cures.
I'm sure likes going over that tree. I don't know.
This is the tree that cures penile fire. And Satan's like, oh, we should have had that down there.
Oh.
They don't even need it up here. There's no penile fire at all.
They don't know how to properly use it. She just grabbed a couple of apples from that tree and just ran back down.
Right, then they rejoice. They're like, that's even better than your plan of smiting God, right?
Yeah. So we don't even care now. We just, and they read the side of the apple. It's like side effects may include headaches, nausea.
Side effects may include headaches, nausea, penile fire.
I don't like that. Then he turns to the camera. He's like, or do I? All right. Okay. No. Okay. So yeah, he watches as Adam and Eve make their way to this shady tree, and they sit down and they have this meal of fruit, and they are happy and they are smiling and they are laughing and they're even like joking with each other.
Yeah.
And Satan just can't stand it. And all around them, the animals are also in this like happy, playful state, and they're all like frolicking and playing with each other. Even the carnivores, because they're not carnivores apparently.
Right, they're not carnivores yet.
Yeah. This is straight out of Bambi, Keenan. And the first words of the next stanza spoken by Satan are, "Oh hell." Right? He says, "Oh hell, what do mine eyes with grief behold?" Right? But no, actually, I'm joking. He gets choked up by how much Adam and Eve look like God. That's the first thing that he notices about them. He can see why God and the other angels love them, and how maybe he too, Satan, could love them. And then he's like, in fact, I'm not your enemy. I actually feel sorry for you. And then, no joke, he adds, even though nobody feels sorry for me. Like he actually says that.
Right.
But then he decides then and there that he must have Adam and Eve for his own. Right? He says, with you I must dwell, or you with me. And he goes on, he says, I don't think you guys are going to like my home, but it's good enough for me, and it'll be good enough for you. He says, hell shall unfold to entertain you two, her widest gates, and send forth all her kings. There will be room, not like these narrow limits, to receive your numerous offspring. And he finishes, he says, and hey, if you don't like it, thank him who puts me loath to this revenge on you who wrong me not. So blame God.
Right. Not his fault. He's trying to murder you and your children.
Yeah. Right.
Or murder you and kidnap your children, I guess.
Exactly. Right.
I think it's so interesting because we can have this conception that like devils are less than us. Maybe they are stronger and sexier and faster and smarter or whatever, but in the hierarchy, they're less than us. And then to reverse engineer and think about them, well, no, they're not devils as we conceive of them. They're angels, right? And they're fallen angels. And so they're higher than us is how that feels to me, right? Because as a man today, like a human today, I'm like, oh, the angels are up there and they're above us, right? Yeah. But then to reverse engineer it further and think from Satan's point of view, right? God making man in his image is to usurp the angels in the hierarchy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting part of this here that I hadn't quite put my finger on until Satan is saying that, essentially.
Yeah, I really, really like this. The only other time I have heard Satan or like the the version of Satan saying this is in Islam, where I think it's Iblis who basically says the same. It's like there's kind of like a similar situation where they're all up in heaven and God announces that he has just made man from earth, and it's like it's well known by this point, like, oh, God created the angels out of light, and then he created the jinn out of fire, and then he creates man out of earth.
Right.
And Iblis, I believe, is an angel, and he's like, what? like so, and God's announcement is like, it's like you guys are gonna bow down to man. Like this is my greatest creation. This is my most beloved. And Iblis he can't accept that. He's like, I am made out of light. I am the cleanest thing there is. I'm not gonna bow down to this gross mud person.
Right. And that's how I see man, right? If I'm comparing man to God or the angels, I see us as mud people with Pringles dust on our chests, right? From sitting around all day. So like oftentimes today when I hear people say like, man was created, God created man in his image, I don't know, usually that's like, it's either like a boast, like a like a life is sacred sort of idea, right? Like protect life, protect people because we're worthy, like, or it's like trying to provoke people to be better. But to think of that in like the celestial hierarchy, that had not occurred to me until our discussion here. And I know you had mentioned the jinn story before on our show, but like putting it in Satan's minds here, that's just not a perspective I had thought of before.
Yeah. And I kind of like how, like in Milton's version, at least, Satan has this idea that he's like, like before he sees them, he has this idea that they are just like mud people, right? Before he sees it. But then he looks at them and he kind of like gets a little bit choked up. He's like, oh, I kind of get it now.
Right.
Like I can see how, the other angels, and I can see how God can love these two. Like they just like it. There's something about them that he can't put into words.
Right.
And I think that's like, because he's very like, again, like we're talking about like very hierarchical, very logical, and he needs to put things all in there. Like everything has a place,
right? And
everything is like there for a reason. And he sees it, like the guys at Classical Stuff, you should know, also make this point. They say that one of the ideas to hold on to as you read Paradise Lost is that creation is a crescendo. It's not a decrescendo, right? But Satan thinks of it as such, right? He was the first. So he's the best, right? Like he was the first thing created, so he's the best. He's up at top. And we're going to find out, right? Like as God creates, the universe, right? He creates the earth, and then so it's like light and water and earth, and then the animals, and then lastly man, right? But then even lastly, right? We have woman,
right?
And so the guys at Classical Stuff, they are saying that Milton is saying that Eve is the greatest creation.
I think that's very clear. Yeah.
Because she is the final thing. She is the climax of creation, right?
Right. But also Satan is looking at them together and say that they're so much like God. And he's not saying like, oh, the man looks so much like God and the woman looks like a rib.
Right. Yeah. No, he's saying both of them.
Both of them look like God, right?
Exactly, right? And the other thing that the boys on Classical Stuff point out is Satan goes after Eve specifically because she is the last.
Right.
Right. He's the first. She's the last. So he like there's something about it. It's like another like Batman Joker thing.
Right.
Or it's just like what is it about you? Like I am struck by your beauty. You look so much like God, but you're supposed to be the lowliest thing. Like if my thinking is correct.
Right.
So I gotta get closer to you and figure out and like test my theories.
Right.
But yeah, so we're not there yet. He's just looking at both of them, and yeah, he's planning a little magic school bus field trip to hell for them.
Hope you've all got your permission slips.
Yeah. Right. That bus is still down here, right? Okay. It's in Moloch's colon.
With all the dead children?
Yeah, with all the dead children and the gems that he tried to eat.
Yeah, the bus is it's just an afterthought. That's just a side effect of eating all those children.
I mean, to someone who eats children, a bus is kind of like a Hot Pocket. So then Satan flies down from the tree.
Which fucking tree?
The tree of life.
Oh, right.
He flies down from the tree because remember, folks, he's still a bird, if anyone forgot. I actually did.
I did too. Thank you. That's very helpful.
And he lands amongst the animals, and he becomes an animal himself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is absolutely literal. He's not figuratively, changing into animals. He is literally changing into animals, right? From one animal to another as he gets closer and closer to Adam and Eve, and he's getting closer. And now he's a lion stalking his prey. It's closer, and now he's a tiger slinking silently along. Which, Keenan. This seems like an unnecessary change.
From a lion to a tiger?
Yes. Why does he go like okay, he's a bird.
Yeah.
And then he lands and he starts changing into a bunch of different animals to get closer. But then the last change he makes is from a big cat to another big cat.
Well.
Also, Keenan, how does he know what a tiger is?
How does he know what a corcoran is or whatever he was earlier?
A cormorant.
A cormorant, yeah.
Yeah, we don't even know what that is.
Charmander. How does he know?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, I must defend the cat hierarchy because you are assuming lion is the same or bigger than tiger, which is not true.
Okay.
That is the hierarchy we have in our heads because lion is king of the jungle, but tigers are bigger than lions.
Really?
Yes. So he's going from big cat to bigger cat. He goes from cats to the largest one. Absolutely.
But
so why is the lion the king of the jungle? I don't know.
Okay, but Keenan, my question still stands. Like he's sneaking up on them. And so he's a big cat, and then you just hear behind Adam and Eve, like, roar!
No, he needs to be the biggest cat there is, which he understands as a tiger somehow, because he's been reading his zoo books.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Right. Plenty of time down there in the school bus.
He gets a zoo book in the mail every 2 weeks.
Yes. Right. They have the post office in hell.
The post office is hell.
Yes, I meant they have the postal system. Yeah. But I actually wonder if he's just like blending in with what he sees nearby. He must be, right?
He just sees because they're all mixed together. They're all hanging out.
Right.
I don't know. I guess I don't believe this is in Genesis, but I am questioning everything I know about what's in Genesis after this two trees thing.
After this tree of life, yeah.
But Adam and Eve get sent away from the garden, right?
Yeah.
And then I think we're supposed to assume that then all the animals which are hanging out together in the Garden of Eden then go spread out across the world and sort of segregate themselves, right?
Right, yeah. Right. So in the beginning, every biome, every indigenous animal, indigenous to like other places later, like are all indigenous to Eden.
That's
right?
how
so
I
you got
understand
lions
it,
and you got tigers.
And all the beauties of the desert and the beauties of the poles and the beauties of the jungle and everything is all together, right?
Yeah. So he's a lion and then he's a tiger, right? And he's creeping up, through the tall grass, and he's getting real close. And
wait, so does he teach the lions and tigers how to be carnivores? The entrance of Satan itself is what causes them to need to eat each other.
Because Milton is describing him as like stalking Adam and Eve, like he's like menacing, and he's like slinking along like a lion or a tiger. Meanwhile, we forgot, folks, you forgot. Behind him, all the other animals are singing like, "I just can't wait to be king." Because they're all playing with each other. They're all happy, right? And he just kind of looks back. He's like, I really don't need to do sneaking right now. Right? But I'm going to do it because I'm Satan, right?
But yeah, Milton does list them by name: lion, tigers, bears.
Oh, my.
Elephants. He does mention them. So yeah, he does. Yeah. He does know about a bunch of animals outside of England for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so we definitely got those, and so he's right up close on him. He's hiding in the tall grass, and Adam begins to speak. So Satan's tiger ears like perk up, right?
I like that. What happens to cats? Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Even the Lord of all evil. Right.
Right.
It's like when his ears go up. It's like, oh. No. When you say his name, or it's like
he pretends to not notice, but he knows.
Right.
He hears it.
Yeah. And okay, Keenan, Satan is ridiculously lucky here, because Adam is dropping some crucial info. He's like, "Oh, Eve, you're the best thing that God ever created. I love you so much. Isn't it great we live here in this beautiful garden that God made for us, and all he asks in return is that we don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Because as you know, because you were there, God said that eating from that tree would bring death into the world, whatever that is, something bad.
Something bad.
Isn't it great that we have so much freedom and that's literally the only thing we're not allowed to do?
But who would want to, right?
Yeah. What reason would we have? Yeah. And Eve's like, yes, Adam, it's really great, right? Maybe Satan's not lucky. Maybe Adam says this literally every day.
Well,
right?
they've only been 2 days together.
True. Right. But we got we got the first man mansplaining to Eve, even though she was also there when God told them to not eat from this tree. And she's like, "That's really great, honey." No.
Yeah, but this is part of this is especially a part that feels more like a play, right?
Yeah, no, yes. Like we were talking about, like it being a stage play. This is exactly, and you're gonna you see Satan hiding, right?
Exactly.
And Adam and Eve are up, upstage, and they're talking, and like Satan's reacting in the back. He's like, right. But yeah, so Eve actually answers him. She basically tells him, Adam, her origin story. She's like, "Oh, Adam, like, I love you too. I feel like I'm the lucky one because I get to be devoted to God and you. Hey, do you remember when we first met like 2 days ago?
Right.
And I woke up by the edge of a lake and I looked in and I thought it was another person. But then an angel came and told me it was my reflection and to follow him to meet you. And the angel led me to you, but I thought you looked kind of icky, so I turned back to hang with my reflection. Remember that? But you won me over by giving me a name, which is what you're really good at, Adam."
Yeah, and here that's like his job, I suppose, right?
Yes. Yeah, right. That is his thing. And yeah, so again, classical stuff, they point out that both Adam and Eve represent God in different ways. And Adam is all about understanding things. He wants to categorize things, and he gives things names. And that is kind of like the play version of God creating, ex nihilo, right? Like something out of nothing, right? And so, God's going to be like, "Let there be antelopes," and then Adam's going to walk up and he's like, "That's an antelope," right? Yeah. And Eve, on the other hand, is like God in God's majestic awe, right? Like his magnetism, his like the beauty that makes characters in the Bible tremble, right?
But she's extending creation, as I understand it.
Yes, as well as that, right?
Yeah.
So she has the element of being able to make something from nothing, right? Like she can make children. She can also take what Adam gives her, or she can take we're going to see like how she tends the garden. She can like take things that are broken or take things that are ugly, and she can make them beautiful, right? And that's another thing that God does, right? Like Satan messes up something, and God can like make it even more beautiful than it was, and that's Eve's version of God's aspect.
What do you make of this thing that is like Narcissus, right? Where Eve sees herself in the water, but Milton doesn't seem to make that connection for us, right? So,
right. He mentions every other like classical Greek thing.
Yeah. So when
he's comparing stuff.
So I mean, I've seen people say that Eve doing this is like Narcissus, but when I read the text, I don't think it is. Like I would see that like pride, or she almost drowns herself in it, or anything like that.
Right. No.
Yeah, but it's like it's an exact story out of Greek mythology, just not without any of the moral of the story, I guess.
Yeah, I don't see like. If that's what Milton was trying to do, was trying to like subtly say that women are vain or something like that.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah, because she's puzzled by it. She's scared by it first, right? And she backs away, and then she like looks at it again, and I don't think she has a conversation with it, but like she thinks it's another entity, and she's like just overjoyed to meet someone like her, right? Yeah, and folks, let's give her a break. She's like the second person ever, right?
Right. Yeah. So I've seen I've seen people warning about this this incident, that this is a sign of his misogyny. I don't know if that is here. Is my point.
Yeah.
Like, so there's plenty of other
Yes, that's not to say that Milton is not misogynistic in other places of this, but yeah, I don't know, like this one. Because he could have leaned into it a little bit more.
And we've seen him, he has the ability and the inclination to be like, and that's like, Nephthys, and this is Passacides or whatever, and things you've never heard of.
Everything is like
everything else, but this one isn't like Narcissus, which is...
Yeah, it was weird, yeah. But yeah, so I think it's trying to show like her innocence, maybe?
Naivete, right?
Yeah, but then why not also show a little bit of Adam's naivete?
Right.
Come on, let's have him try to name something and get it horribly wrong.
Right.
It's like, this fruit is a kumquat, and And God's like, are you sure?
Are you serious?
Are you sure? He's like, yes. And he's like, all right, okay. You gave him free will. He can name whatever he wants.
Or like, this fruit is a kiwi. Okay. And this bird is a kiwi. Aren't you going to confuse the two of them? They look rather similar. It's like, no, it's fine.
That's the first day, and God's like, okay. He has that like very patient parent. Like, it's like, let's try something else.
Why don't you name this orange-colored fruit?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a tangerine. Okay, we'll come back to this later.
Yeah, what folks who read the Bible don't know is that God had some trouble with Adam at first. And
he had some notes.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't see that, and Eve doesn't know about that because she didn't exist yet.
Right.
There we go. But yeah, so then Satan's still watching them, right? And they start to get all lovey-dovey, and they start kissing, and Satan turns away. He's like, ugh, but no, actually, he says, sight hateful, sight tormenting, and he notes how, and this is. I actually like this. He says, even though they're already in paradise, they find another paradise in each other's arms, right? While he is alone in hell, even when he's not in hell, right?
Should have asked Beelzebub to come with him.
I'm just saying, like, this problem could have been solved, right?
It's right in front of you the whole time, man.
Yeah. But you had that alpha energy, Satan.
You
like,
had
I gotta
him
do this by myself.
He completes you.
Yeah.
You had him at hell.
Yeah. That you had me at hello. I like that. Very clever. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So Satan turns inward and he starts talking to himself. He says, "Yet let me not forget what I have gained from their own mouths. All is not theirs, it seems. One fatal tree there stands of knowledge called, forbidden them to taste. Knowledge forbidden? Suspicious. Reasonless. Why should their Lord envy them that? Can it be sin to know? Can it be death? And do they only stand by ignorance? Is that their happy state? The proof of their obedience and their faith?" Which is actually a really good point.
Those are very good questions, Satan.
Yes. And we know Satan is genuinely puzzled by this because he's saying it in a monologue to himself, right, with no one else around.
A soliloquy.
A soliloquy, right? Yeah. But no, like, remember, folks, like we said this back in The Exorcist, talking about Disney songs, right? Talking about soliloquies. Anytime a character is alone on stage or in a scene, meaning like there's no one there for them to lie to, right? Whatever they show us or tell us is true. And if it's not objectively true, they still think it's true, right? Romeo is telling the truth when he cries over Juliet's body because he believes she's dead, right? So as a rule, all soliloquies reveal the character's truth, which is just so funny because here in this poem, we have the father of lies speaking soliloquy for 90% of his lines. And yes, a lot of what he says is twisted logic, like before. But we are seeing more of his thought process than ever before in any other story since before this, right? He can't lie to us, and maybe that's why this poem is so attractive because he's playing the part of a deceiver to other characters, but we're in on it. But yeah, so he ends his monologue. He says, "Live while ye may, yet happy pair, enjoy till I return. Short pleasures for long woes are to succeed." And that's when he turns to the audience and he goes, "Mwah, ha, 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 ha." And they all go, "Boo!"
Oh, they throw their peanut shells at him. Yeah.
Right? And he flourishes his cape and he exits stage left, right? But no, like I said before, some scenes in this book feel like a British panto, right? This is one of those scenes.
Right.
And okay, so for those who don't know, a panto is a type of musical comedy theater that is very, very popular in the UK, especially around Christmas time. Usually it's a retelling of a classic fairy tale, right? It's Rumpelstiltskin, it's Jack and the Beanstalk, it's Cinderella, Snow White, right? Aladdin is also in there. It's a popular one. It's mostly for kids, but specific characters are famous for making jokes aimed at the moms and the dads, specifically the villain and the dame. And that's another essential ingredient. All pantos have a dame, which is essentially a large man in drag, right? And he'll play like, the fairy godmother or Jack's mother, right? And, right, if there is no dame analog in the original tale, they will make one because you gotta have the dame. And the dame is always good. She's real snarky, and she's usually the only character other than the villain who is aware that they are in a show.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then you got your villain, who is a very specific kind of villain. He is also wisecracking. He talks back to the audience. He's overly dramatic. He has an evil laugh, and whenever he shows up, everyone is supposed to boo and hiss.
Right.
And again, if the fairy tale doesn't have a character like this, they put one in. Like one of the pantos I did was Jack and the Beanstalk, and the giant was actually a secondary villain, and I played the main villain, and I was the crooked man.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna kick Jack and his mother off their land unless they could come up with the money, or unless Jack's mother would marry me.
Yeah, but you have to have you early, right? Because the giant comes in later, so we need the villain early on, right?
Right. And like the giant is part of like Jack solving the problem of getting the gold to pay for the farm. Right.
Very cool.
But yeah, right. And yeah, it was great. I'd like walk out onto the stage, right? And I'll boo, boo. And I was like, shut up. Right. It was great. But yeah, so and the reason
remember, if you see Lester in the street, just say boo.
Just hiss and
loves
boo.
it. He loves it.
Yeah. No. Can't get enough of it. Brings me back to my panto days. Yeah. But yeah, the reason I'm bringing panto up is there's always a scene in the panto where the villain is being sneaky and he is hiding from the other characters, and it is a tradition that the kids all shout, "He's behind you," right? And that's exactly what this scene is. Satan is creeping around behind Adam and Eve, and the kids in the audience are going crazy trying to warn them. And every time Adam and Eve look back, Satan he ducks behind a tree or something, right? Or
he's behind the tree. It's not a tiger.
Yeah. Tigers are actually bigger than lions. Right.
Seems to me he's in love with Beelzebub and projecting his eternal hatred on you.
I think that Narcissus comparison was only half formed. You could have gone a little bit further with it, or just not did it at all, which would be our preference. Right. Yeah, we got some precocious little kids in this.
Yeah, they're smart. They're whippersnappers. Yeah.
But yeah, so Satan ducks behind a tree, or he trees behind a duck, right? Adam's like, I could have sworn there were like, it's like I know how many trees there are. There's one more tree just standing right behind that duck.
That's right.
Right.
It's the tree of being good at sports now standing behind the duck of good penmanship.
Oh, yeah, right. But yeah, and then finally, right, Satan's last words in this scene, he's like, "Enjoy Eden while you can." Right? That's a typical panto villain move, right? And he's going to show up in a disguise a little bit later, right?
Right.
Which is another thing. Yeah, it's like, don't trust him. He's the devil.
Don't trust that snake.
Why is there only one snake? Why did God make snakes at all?
Oh, him? Don't worry about him. That's just the serpent of seducing Eve.
Oh, okay. And God's like, Adam, we need to talk about these names. Yeah. But yeah, okay, so Satan exits stage left. He's going to go explore the rest of Eden to see how he can like mess up Adam and Eve's situation, which I don't understand.
No,
because he figured it out. But no.
No, that's a different tree. I'm sure there's a different tree for that.
No. Like he's we hear Adam being like, isn't it great that all we have to do is not eat from the tree.
Not eat from which tree?
The tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Knowledge of good and evil. Right. He says that.
And then Satan says it. He repeats it. He's like, they shouldn't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Right.
Well, farewell, happy pair. I'm going to go like on a hike or something.
He doesn't go directly to the tree, is what you're saying?
I thought the tree was like nearby.
That's what I mean. It's like, so you're saying like it's weird that he's like, oh, I've heard about this tree, so now I'm going to go to. I would go right to that tree and look at it.
I would go right to the tree.
Right.
Yeah,
but he's not. He's going to go do something else. He's going to go sunbathing or.
Yeah, like he goes and he explores. He's like, I'm going to go explore the rest of Eden and see how, like, with the purpose of his exploration of Eden is going to help him. But he knows what to do. Unless the tree is somewhere else. Unless the tree is not there.
Right.
I don't know.
No, It must be around there.
It was like because that's the only reason I was like, I have to go find this tree of knowledge of good and evil.
But then I think you're right, because then he doesn't go and find it at all.
Right. Yeah. He ends up back where
Right.
they. Yeah.
Right.
Turns out,
we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, yeah. It's like, wow, this is like just beautiful foliage as far as the eye can see. It's like you get tired of that real quick. But no. So yeah, he exits. He's going to go explore the rest of the garden, see what's what. And this transition also feels very stagey, right? We get stage lights go down on Adam and Eve, and then on the other end of the stage, it's like, meanwhile, right? And spotlight goes up on the gates of Eden, right? And they're guarded by Gabriel and his soldiers. And Uriel shows up, right? He comes down on a sunbeam, which I don't know how you would do. Like, I don't know the budget of this. Is this like a high school production, or is this like, like a huge like Radio City Music Hall? Like, is he descending on like a, an invisible like wire or something?
Yeah, I just like a staircase that, or like just a step ladder labeled Sunbeam.
Sunbeam, yeah, right. Or it's one of those like little like rope ladders, like a helicopter,
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Or you just hear. And then just after him, just a couple of feathers just seesawing down. Right? No.
No, Uriel makes it through. Don't worry about Uriel.
Yeah, he does. He's okay. Yeah. So Uriel shows up and basically tells them what we already know, that Satan is now in Eden. So we're watching the other characters of the play get brought up to speed, right? But yeah, in the poem, he's like, Gabriel, I have terrible news. Someone told the devil where Eden is, and now he might be there. No. He doesn't do that. He's an angel. He tells the truth. Right? He says that he showed Satan the way to the Garden of Eden. And Gabriel's like, how could you do that, Uriel? You know we're not supposed to let him in here. And Uriel's like, I know, but he tricked me. And Gabriel's like, tricked you? But you're like the wisest, most observant angel. Like, that's why you live in the sun. You see everything. How could he trick you? And Uriel's trying to explain, but it's like a foreign concept. It's like, he said a thing that isn't true. And Gabriel's like, what? What do you mean? And Uriel's like, he said that he was a little baby cherub. And immediately Gabriel's like, but Uriel, he isn't a little baby cherub. And Uriel's like, I know, but he said that he was. He said he was a little baby cherub? But why would he say that? And this is where the clouds part, and God's like,
he was lying, guys. It's a new thing. I'll brief you on it when you get back up here. We'll have an onboarding. We've got some PowerPoints.
Right. And now I'm just thinking about like training seminar up in heaven, right?
Yeah.
On lying.
It's like, it's a new technology, right?
Right. Yeah.
But they all have to get up. Yeah. The competition's already using this lying stuff. We got to get up on this.
Yeah. This is like, okay, we got to understand Salesforce now, right?
Right.
I still don't understand the old system, right?
So we have to learn how to use LinkedIn and Salesforce. It's all about lying.
Yeah. Right. And there's like a training video that you're required to watch, right?
Of course.
And the guy in the video is just some poor angel that you work with, right? and he's dressed like the devil, but it's not like a good costume. He's just like wearing like a baseball cap that has horns on it, right? And his name tag says devil, right? and he's on the phone and he's like, hello, God, I can't come into work today. And you see his eyes moving as he reads the cue cards. Oh, why? Because I'm sick. And then he stops and he's like, wait, but Jeff, I'm not sick. And you hear off camera, it's like, no, it's okay. You're Satan. What? No, I'm Ethan. No, you're pretending to be Satan. Am I lying right now? No, it's okay.
You said I could do this without lying.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned my parents might see this.
But no, basically, Uriel warns them and they go off in search of Satan, right? And Uriel goes back up to the sun and it sets and we
The hell does that mean when you're on the sun?
He goes up to the sun and then it sets.
How?
No,
is he lying now? The sun can't set when you're on the sun.
No. It doesn't set for him, I guess. For us, the audience members, he exits, goes back up to the sun, and then the sun sets on Eden.
Okay.
Yes.
It's all relative.
Yeah. And it couldn't set until, he was up because he has to, put it into drive.
He's got to punch in, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Okay.
So, yeah. So now we get a scene with Adam and Eve, and Adam reveals that they have been working all day. And that's another thing. The guys at Classical Stuff, they point this out. There is work in Eden. Adam and Eve aren't just like, sitting around, right? They are tending this garden. And the goal is that one day all of earth will be like this garden, and God will come down and dwell with them, and it will be like heaven on earth, right? So that's the thing that they're hoping for, right?
That does add this extra layer that I don't know if it's in Genesis. I'm questioning everything I know about Genesis now.
Yeah.
But the idea of like it's not just a garden that has static borders. They're going to expand the border with it. They're going to turn the entire earth into this garden, and God's going to come down. And that's even more tragic that we fell, right?
Right.
Like it adds this other element to that we had a job to do. So it's like not just, okay, this is where original sin comes from. So that means that when I was a kid, I shoplifted a candy bar, and that's where that comes from. No, but it's more than that. It's like we were going to make perfection on earth.
Right. Yeah.
And those plans are all now impossible.
Right. It's all, and it was going to be like, again, death wasn't introduced into the world, so we would be able to go visit Adam and Eve. Like, and they would be like the kings and the king and queen of this world, right?
And they'd introduce us to God.
Yeah, right. And we would be able
to see God by his face.
Yeah. Right. And it would be like in the early Genesis, where like God is walking in the garden, and like we can just like hang out with him, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the lack of the age of miracles and all of that, like the end of the age of miracles and all of that stuff is from our fall.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That's sad, Milton.
Yeah. Right. That's the subtitle of the title of the Bible is like, this is why we can't have nice things. Right. But yeah. But okay, like actually, this is a good place to I guess pontificate. So we do this with The Exorcist. It's like, oh, who is the exorcist? Is it Karras? Is it Marin? Right? Which paradise is being lost here?
Right.
Like, is it Satan's fall from heaven, or is it man's fall from grace and expulsion of Eden?
Oh, you must be right. I thought it was Satan's fall from heaven.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Right. So
but it's not just Adam and Eve's loss of paradise. It's your loss of paradise.
Exactly.
My loss of paradise. Right. As their descendants.
Right. This isn't like the full title wouldn't be like paradise lost by Adam and Eve. It's like paradise is lost. Like paradise is gone for all of us. Yeah.
One of the great titles is Atlas Shrugged. Isn't that just a wonderful title? Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah.
And then do you know what it means?
I mean, like he's the Titan who holds up the earth, right? Oh no, he holds up the sky, isn't it?
Yeah. So then he holds up earth, and then he shrugged, and that left earth. And when I don't know, when you hear what Ayn Rand means by it, it is less elegant than it sounds.
Oh.
It's Atlas Shrugged, and the earth is now destroyed and terrible.
Huh. Oh. I feel like
sideburn Ayn Rand.
Yeah, right. Yep. Ayn Rand, folks.
Look her up, read her.
Yeah.
Join a club or two online.
Yeah. Right. And then read Finnegan's Wake again.
No, I don't know anyone who's finished Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah.
So all my friends have started it and never finished it.
Ah, okay. Interesting. So he hasn't shrugged yet.
I don't believe so. Oh. I don't know when he shrugs.
Atlas is he's unsure of something. But nobody's asked him yet.
But he's an Ayn Rand character, so no one has to ask him. He'll just tell you anyways.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Without anybody asking.
Oh yeah, so Adam and Eve. Yeah, so that's what they're doing. They're tending this garden, right? But Milton tells us that before the fall, this work was actually like easy and fun. Right, crops and plants were just like popping up out of the ground. Right, no trouble. Right, they didn't. It wasn't considered toil, which is what it is considered now, like after the fall. Right, but here Adam says, just as all other things must sleep, they also must take a break from their work and sleep. He's telling this to Eve. Like she doesn't know.
Well, again, it's their second day alive or whatever it is.
Right, but it's his. Like, I guess he's okay. Like, is he like one day older? Is that why?
I think so. Yeah.
Is that the thing?
He's 1 day older than her, right.
And he has to tell. Like, this is like your big brother by 9 months or so, and he's showing you around the playroom and he's telling you all about the world. Right.
So this is like 16 going on 17, right? He's like, I need someone older and wiser telling me what to do. I am 1 day going on 2 days. All depends on you.
Yep, that is what this is, folks. Yeah. And okay, like Eve answers, and we got to blame this on Milton because Satan's not here. She calls Adam Lord and Master. right? She's been doing that. And she says she's devoted to him, and she loses track of time when she's with him.
24 hours, Eve.
Yeah. And then she asks, I think, a valid question, right? If all of this is for us, why do the moon and stars continue to shine when we sleep? Right? It's a good question, Eve. I'm backing that up. It's like, explain it, Adam. And he does. He mansplains the cosmos to her, or like his understanding of the cosmos, right? He says the sun and the moon and the stars, they have to make their orbit around the Earth. Remember, folks, this is geocentric universe, right? Galileo's in house arrest, right? And so after this explanation, right, they're holding hands and they retire to their little shelter which they have, and before they enter, they say a little prayer. They give thanks to God, and then they go inside and they make love. And Milton dips in here to say that, sex before the fall was beautiful and it was pure, this mutual sharing of love, and it only became dirty and sinful after the fall. To which I say, thank God. Is that what it was going to be? Just vanilla sex for all eternity?
I mean, I guess so. I guess like just the way that animals mate, right?
Yeah.
Just like mating for mating's sake.
Yeah.
See you later.
Right. Well, no. He specifically talks about them like relishing in each other's like love, right? Like sharing each other's love, right? Yeah. So there is that. But he continues. He's like not like it is today with all this casual coupling and this debauchery and all these masked balls and these scandalous parties, right?
And these unmasked balls.
And these unmasked balls, if you know what I'm saying. And folks, this is, like, for most people, the most boring part of the whole poem, this Adam and Eve stuff. And just as they are retiring for the night, Milton butts in and he's like, they also have boring sex. Just want you to know.
So you're saying it's not paradise if they just have sweet sex? And
I mean,
no variation in it?
Like you need a little, I mean, yeah, I don't, vanilla's fine, Keenan.
Man and a woman, lovey-dovey sex is fine.
Yeah,
Married, yeah. Same person for eternity.
I mean,
it's fine. It's fine.
Where's the mint chocolate chip? Where's the rocky road?
Right? Butter pecan.
Pecan.
I always get if it's available, I always get cotton candy ice cream.
Are we still doing an innuendo, or is this like?
I don't know what cotton candy ice cream would be as a metaphor for.
I don't know if I want to know.
But I always get it, and then every time I have it, I'm like, I don't know, this isn't as good as the idea of it. So, but I'm always compelled. So there must be some kind of sex that's like that.
Like cotton candy.
That sounded like it always sounds like a good idea until you're in the process.
Until you're in it, yeah.
Like, oh yeah, maybe this time I'll learn cotton candy ice cream isn't as good as vanilla.
Yeah.
Pistachio.
So what we're saying, folks, is Satan invented all the ice cream flavors.
That's right.
Yeah, because there was only vanilla in the Garden of Eden, and now we got bananas for scale. Yeah. But we also have penal fire, and that's
yeah. I don't know who and when invented the crazy Ben and Jerry, like Chunky Monkey and Stephen Colbert's American Dream. I don't know who invented that.
Yeah.
That might have been the Marquis de Sade.
Yeah, more like the Marquis de Salted Caramel.
Very good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, they're in there. They're in the bower. But here the lights go down on Adam and Eve, and the lights go up on Gabriel and his troop of angels. And he names a few of them. He's like Uziel, you go south with your men. Ithuriel and Zephon, go over and check Adam and Eve's house and see if Satan's already there. And if he is, bring him to me. Right. Yeah. And surprise, surprise, Satan is already there. Right. The angels find him, quote, squatting like a toad beside Eve's ear. And again, every artistic depiction I see is an actual toad.
But it can't be. Like a toad does not mean that he is a toad.
That's what I'm saying. He he sat in the tree of life like a cormorant, and now he is squatting like a toad. Has he not changed yet? Like, I thought he's been changing this whole time. Like,
yeah, he has been.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, like the way that Milton says it, it's Him there they found squat like a toad, close at the ear of Eve, right? It sounds like Satan is just like in his angel form on all fours like a toad.
Absolutely. It's got to be because toads don't squat like toads, and cormorants don't hold their wings up like cormorants.
Right. Yeah. But okay, Keenan, the next thing that happens, it has to be that he changed his shape, because they poke him with a spear and immediately his disguise evaporates. So he must have changed into a toad. Yeah. Right.
Well, then he's using language all wrong. This guy, Milton, who has more influence on the English language than I will ever have. He's doing English wrong.
They got it. He needs to say, they found a toad squatting by Eve's ear.
Right. And they knew it was Satan.
And they poked him with a spear. Right.
Right.
Yeah. But yes, so if we are understanding this correctly, he did change into a toad. Right. And so if you are keeping tally at home so far, right, we got a cormorant, right, which is a creature of the air. Then we got some beasts of the field, including a lion and a tiger. And now we got a toad. So in pursuit of his revenge, his forms are slowly devolving. Right. Okay. And I really like that. But yeah, so, they poke this toad with a spear. And there's this burst of flames, right? Milton says it's like a spark hitting gunpowder, right? And now Satan is standing before them, and they all draw back because even in his angelic form, he's changed and he looks terrifying. But they pluck up their courage and they address him, and they're like, "Which one of the rebel angels are you?" And Satan's like, "Excuse me?" Like, he can't believe it. This is the thing that stings the most. He's like, "Don't you know who I am?" And he goes on, he's like, if you don't know who I am, you must be very low-ranking angels. Like, why am I wasting my time talking with you?
Right.
But then Zephon steps forward, and Milton lets us know that Zephon is a cherub. And remember, we know that actual cherubs sound like New York cabbies, right? So Zephon's like, "Hey, what are you doing over here? Don't act like you're still up in heaven with all your fancy titles, right? You're just a bum now."
That's right.
And he's like, "So you're going to come with us without a fight?" And Satan's like, "If I'm going to fight, I'm not going to fight a little cherub like you. Yeah, take me to your boss, right?" And I don't know if Milton meant to do this, but I love how that's how they get him to go with them, right? Because of Satan's pride. He can't stand having to speak with someone of lower rank, right?
He's asking to speak to their manager.
It is the original Karen, folks. Karen Morningstar, right? "Do you know who my father is?" Yeah, he's all of our fathers.
All of our fathers.
Yes. Oh, well. Yeah. Stop recording me. Yeah. Yeah. And so they take him to Gabriel, and Gabriel knows who he is, right? And he says, "Why hast thou, Satan, broke the bounds prescribed to thy transgressions?" And Satan's like, "Gabriel, I always thought you were smart, but that is the stupidest question." And he basically says, "Is there anyone who loves being punished?" And Milton chimes in again. He's like, "Not yet, because all sex is boring." But no, Satan's basically like, who wouldn't want to leave their prison if they could, right? He's like, "Seems to me God should have made it harder to escape, right? Or maybe he wanted me to escape." Right? And Gabriel shoots back, and he's just as snarky. He's like, "Oh, looks like we lost a philosopher up in heaven." But then he's like, "Okay, but why are you out here all by yourself? Are the other fallen angels just tougher? You couldn't stand the heat, right?"
Where's Beelzebub?
Where's Beelzebub?
He just looks up. He's back at home.
Oh yeah.
I told him not to come.
But no, actually, so this line from Gabriel actually makes Satan really, really mad, right? He's just like, "Oh, you're just like, running from your prison, right? It seems like all the other fallen angels are a little bit tougher than you, huh, Satan?" And he's like, "You watch your goddamn mouth." It's like, "I was the toughest angel up in heaven, and you know that because we fought, and I almost kicked your ass. And even back then, you were a smart ass, and I see nothing has changed." Right? And he goes on to say,
from 10 days ago.
From 10 days ago. I forgot about that part. Yeah. But yeah, Satan goes on to say that he's hell's chosen leader, and he alone volunteered to brave the realm of chaos in search of this new world where he can rest his rebel angels to whom he remains loyal, and they to him. And then they're going to prepare for another war. And he says Gabriel knows nothing of war, and he says, go back to heaven and sing hymns because that's all he's good for, right? And Gabriel says, he's like, "Your actions don't befit a leader, but a liar, right? Don't talk to me about loyalty, right?"
Yeah, we've got training on what lying is now, so we understand that.
So now I know what that is, yeah. Right. Satan's like, oh, really? Because actually, I was just out here taking my my evening constitutional.
Yeah, I was looking for neat rocks.
Yeah, right? to bring back to hell. Yeah. What am I? The rules don't say I'm not allowed to do that. And Gabriel's like, well, yeah, actually, the rules don't say. Wait a minute. That's another lie, isn't it? No. But no, he says he tells Satan to get out. And if he sees Satan near Eden again, he's going to drag him back to hell himself in chains.
Maybe I'd like that.
Yeah.
He says. You don't know me.
But yeah, so this again, like everything that Gabriel is saying is like just like upping Satan's rage, right? Mm-hmm. And he speaks like I'm imagining like through clenched teeth. He's like, speak of chains only when I am your prisoner, but before that, expect to feel my fist in your face, right? I don't care if God's got your back or not. You're just his slaves, and you're going to be my slaves soon. And with those chains, you're going to drag my chariot over the starry paths of heaven, right? And this does the job, right? It gets all the angels, they literally turn fiery red, right? And they square up and they lower their spears, they point them at Satan, and Satan gathers up his like faded strength. And even though he's unarmed, Milton says he looked like he may as well have a spear and a shield, and he begins to grow and he's becoming huge and terrible. And Milton says that this fight would have destroyed all of creation. But just then, God sends a vision of golden scales, basically showing Satan the outcome of the battle. And Gabriel kind of like interprets it for him. He says, God is telling you that even though you're stronger than me, both my strength and your strength were given to us by God, and he holds the scales. And if we fight, God is saying you're going to lose this one. Oh, okay. And Satan knows that he's right, and so Milton says he fled murmuring, and with him fled the shades of night.
Mm-hmm. I do like the idea of him murmuring as he goes off.
I like see those two things. I would have him like he fled, and with him fled the shades of night. I like that, right? Now you put murmuring, and it just sounds like it's right. Just like, you go some chains. You talk about chains. I'll give you some chains. And that is the end of book 4. Mm-hmm. Keenan, what did you think of this book compared to the other ones we've read so far?
Well, I like the Adam and Eve stuff. I think that I had a lot of misunderstanding. Yeah, I do. I think it's I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I had the most revelations about. Oh, wow, that's an interesting way of thinking about this when I was looking at Adam and Eve. But yeah, I guess I also had a whole lot of misunderstandings of what's happening in the text. So maybe I don't know. Feels half and half for me. How about you?
Yeah. Again, like all the stuff with Satan, that's what grabbed my attention. I personally had like a bit of a hard time, getting through Adam and Eve. Just because like, and also partly just because of the way he writes Eve as well is, again, like you can't, not see the misogyny in it, right?
Yeah. She says, "Oh, you're my lord and master," and he never calls her, "Oh, and you are my lady and my mistress."
Right. You're like he could say like, "You're my queen," "You're my," It's like and then it's equal even though they're calling each other master, right?
Right. And then not even some of the stuff that people would try to like Adam having dominion over everybody in the Bible, including Eve. Like some people say, well, dominion is like his job is to take care of her and to set her up for success, and that's not really here in Milton either.
No, yeah. So but we're gonna get more of them. Yeah, we're gonna get more of Adam and Eve in this story, right?
Good.
And more of Satan, and we'll see how I don't think they've met face to face yet, but I don't know. Anyway, that is all of me. All right, well, that was great. Thanks, past Lester and Keenan. Well, folks, I have been Lester Ryan Clark, both in the past and in the present. You can summon me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I am immune to the bounds of time, and I've been Keenan Diaz, and you can invoke me on Instagram and Letterboxd at Howdy Keenan.
Yeah, find more of our shows and other really cool podcasts at True Story FM. Like us on Instagram and join our Facebook listener group, Dante's Ninth Circle Sushi and Karaoke Bar, or feel free to drop us a message at thedevilsdetails@gmail.com. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? We're not even asking for your souls. Just give us a 5 pentagram rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. That and sharing the show by word of mouth or on social media helps our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. All right, folks. Until next week, love and hisses. Mwah!
That's him. That's Satan.
That's Satan.
Watch out for Sharon.
He says he's a snake, but snakes shouldn't be able to say they're snakes.
Right.
Okay.
Eve Adams says you're in an equal relationship, but he's not backing that up with action. It's a red flag, girl.
Mm-hmm. You should go look for another. Oh. Damn it.
You can name things too, girl.
Yeah. She's looking at some of this stuff. She's like, kumquat.
Salamander. What the hell?
What the heck? Who's on a trip that day? Mm-hmm. All right, I guess this is Greenland and this is Iceland. Sure,
Adam. You're the master.
Mm-hmm. He calls these blueberries, but they're
clearly
purple.
So those are blueberries. Those are blackberries. Why aren't these red berries?
Yeah. No, these are strawberries. And this thing is neither a pea nor a nut. I don't know. I'm gonna go talk with God, and I'm gonna see if I can get some executive power over here.
He calls this a chili, but when you eat it, it makes you hot.
Yeah. God, why do you park in a driveway